Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Koss, and welcome to another podcast at KevAdvoTech. Today, I'm excited to be reconnected with an old friend in the work world, Stephanie Lomax, who I'm going to introduce in a minute. Stephanie and I go back a ways. She worked in the IT field just like I did for a number of years, and I used to bump into Stephanie at different conferences and things like that. And we were kind of quasi business partners and competitors, and we wore a lot of different hats. But in the time that I've known Stephanie, I've really come to respect her, and she's just really a genuinely nice person. And I recently reconnected with her as she follows some of my work at KevAdvoTech. Stephanie had reached out and she knew about my son Kevin with a traumatic brain injury, and she knew some of the challenges as she was reading some of my blogs and listening to podcasts. And Stephanie reached out and said, "Hey, Mike, I'm out of the IT world. I'm in this company working with this company called LifeWave, and we have this a patch, and I'll let her talk more about this shortly, that is non-intrusive. It's helped a number of people with different issues like anxiety, muscle aches and pains, etc., a whole variety of things. And the more she talked and when she reached out to me, I said, yeah, let's absolutely discuss this. I'm always looking for new things. My wife and I are always looking for new things to try with Kevin, right? And I'll talk a little bit more in detail shortly about our experience with this LifeWave patch and a little bit more about Kevin's background in a minute. But with that, as setting the table here, Stephanie, I'd like to welcome you to this podcast. It's a pleasure having you. And if you could just introduce yourself for a moment, tell the audience who you are, what you do, a little bit of your background, and we'll get rolling here.
Okay. Well, Mike, first, thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. And it's been great to be reconnected. I always enjoy our conversations, and I'd say what we're doing now is very enjoyable and helpful to people. I was in, as Mike mentioned, I was in to the technology world really for my whole career. And I left about a year ago, and I had started working with this patch. I'm a distributor for a company called LifeWave. I'm an independent distributor, and it really fits kind of very well into my life. I'm a competitive tennis player, and I have family and friends who are active and athletes, and they're always having aches and pains and all kinds of injuries and surgeries and this, that, and the other thing. And these patches can be very helpful for people to just help with aches and pains and healing injuries and so forth. But I just do want to quickly make a quick disclaimer that the patch is not meant to cure, prevent, or treat any illness or injury. And everything that I talk about today is for educational purposes.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, Stephanie. Thank you. So for the audience here, I mentioned Kevin a couple of minutes ago, my son Kevin. Kevin suffered a traumatic brain injury, as a number of you know in the audience, 22 plus years ago now. He's mostly nonverbal, understands completely what you're saying or I'm saying. He just doesn't know how to properly respond, with the appropriate speech. He's got some speech issues, aphasia, and that. One of the challenges that brings for my wife Ruth and I is when Kevin is in distress or in pain, right? He just simply cannot tell us. He's got a high pain tolerance, we've learned over the years, and it's difficult, and it's challenging. It's heartbreaking for us, right? When we know or think he's in pain and we just can't get that confirmation. One of the ways that we found that kind of directly correlates to Kevin's pain is heart rate. So quite often, we put a Fitbit on him nowadays and have the little pulsometer as well from time to time. But with that Fitbit, it could at least, show me on my iPhone where his heart rate is at any moment. And this past year, 2023, was a very difficult year for Kevin medically. He's got a short history of kidney stones, and which are, I've never had one, but I understand they're extremely painful, right? And we didn't catch this most recent one. The doctors suspected something was there, but we couldn't confirm it because Kevin gets spooked out by going in, the machines to get a CT. So um, it kind of lingered for a while. Well, during that time, I think, Stephanie, is when you and I reconnected, and I ordered some patches from you, and put this little patch on his back between his shoulder blades every day. And again, we didn't know. I want to make sure I'm emphasizing here. We didn't know he was dealing with a kidney stone at the time, right? We knew he was dealing with some level of pain, but I really, really believe during this 1, 2, 3 month period, the patch brought his heart rate down quite often, right? I mean, I could see evidence of it right on our Fitbit. So I I think we and Kevin certainly benefited from using this patch. Also, just recently, Stephanie, I don't know if I shared with you, during all of this time that Kevin was dealing with this kidney stone and in pain, we did not know that he had a very badly abscessed tooth in back of his mouth. And so that's kind of like a double whammy, right? Because he won't sit still in the dentist chair either. He won't tell us that his tooth is bothering him. But we finally um, got that addressed. But again, as I look back on 2023, he was in a lot of pain, which you get irritable, right? It's human nature. And I think these patches, especially the last few months of 2023, really helped and brought that heart rate down to a normal level, which kind of told me that hopefully his pain was relieved somewhat. And I attribute that to the patch. I really do. Going forward, we're going to think about how we use the patch in maintenance mode, I guess is the right word, right? And I really think it's had a calming effect on him. So kind of wordy here. I apologize to the audience for a long story there, but I think it's important to understand, since we have a special needs audience here that follows us. It's important to understand how we use the patch, to help with anxiety, to help bring that pain down for Kevin. So Stephanie, with that said, what can you share with the audience? Tell us a little bit about the product itself. Tell us the science behind it without making my brain hurt here.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I'd be happy to, Mike. And I'm not a scientist or a biologist either, so we'll speak in layman's terms. But this is what it looks like. It's really about, it's smaller. It's a little bigger than the size of a quarter, and you wear it. You can wear it anywhere really, but we recommend wearing it in the trunk of the body, which would be the base of the neck, which is where Kevin's wearing it. You can actually wear it under your belly button as well. And this is an organic patch. It's made of organic materials, organic crystals, salt, and sugars. Within the patch, kind of in the middle of the patch, there's like this lattice of nanocrystals, and they have amino acids in them. But the amino acids don't leave the patch and they don't go into your body. The patch is a light therapy patch, and the process is called photobiomodulation. Photo means light, bio obviously is biology, and modulation is change. So by wearing this patch, we're making changes within our body through the reflection of light. So when you put the patch on your body, it's actually activated by the heat. If you think about it, our bodies are warm. You put the patch on your body, the patch becomes the temperature of your body, and heat is a form of light. And then the patch reflects signals of infrared light back through your skin and elevates this peptide called the GHK. And the GHK peptide is responsible for numerous health benefits within the body. And you can look up GHK and Google it and find out all about it. Well, this GHK peptide activates our stem cells. And the problem that we have with stem cell activity is that our stem cells are the most active when we're in the embryonic stage and when we're newborns. But as we start to age, stem cell activity declines. So for example, by the time we're in our 30s, our stem cells are only 50% active. And by the time we are 60, our stem cells are virtually sleeping. They're dormant. And this is why it takes longer to heal as we get older. If you cut yourself, if you sprain an ankle, if you pull a muscle, if you get sick, it takes longer to heal than it did when you were in your 20s. So the wonderful thing about this patch is it will enhance your stem cell activity. And once you start wearing the patch, the stem cells know where to go. They know where the problem areas are in your body. They know if you have an injury or if you have something going on with one of your organs, like your heart or your kidneys, and will start to go through a healing process. And we can't target exactly or tell you exactly how the patch will help you. And kind of the beauty of it is that sometimes you have nice surprises along the way. And I've been wearing the patch for, I'm going to say 16 months. And it's just been wonderful for me. It's helped me with lots of different things. Just quickly to tell you how I learned about the patch, I was at a tennis tournament, at a national tournament with some friends. We were comparing notes on injuries, as we normally do. And one of them showed me this patch, and she told me how it had been wonderful for her. She actually avoided knee surgery from wearing this patch. So I decided to try it because I was waking up each day with a different ache or a pain. Each day it was like, okay, do I have to do neck exercises today? Do I need to do knee exercises today? Do I need to do something to make my lower back feel better? And I was just tired of feeling that way. So I thought to myself, what have I got to lose? I started wearing the patch, and it's worked beautifully for me in many different ways. It's also, believe it or not, in addition to helping me with injury types of issues, I no longer have acid reflux, which was chronic for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's brought my blood pressure down too. My blood pressure, I wasn't on blood pressure medication, but my blood pressure was spiking a little, and now it's much more normal than it was before. One of my friends and colleagues at LifeWave, she actually was able to get off her blood pressure medication through wearing the patch. And she worked with her physician on this. They basically, weaned her off the medication over a 10-month period. So anyway, that's kind of the quick description of how the patch works.
No, that's great, Stephanie. Thank you. I mean, one of the things I should have mentioned as well with Kevin, he in 2023, he had some leg issues, his lower calves and the front. We think originally it started with bug bites, right? But he would scratch and it would open sores on his legs, and they would bleed in that. And so we went to a wound specialist. He was getting treated there. But from time to time, after you and I reconnected and we started patching him, I would put a patch down there, near the open wounds. I think it helped. It certainly didn't hurt. I think it helped accelerate some of the healing. And when I look at the LifeWave website, wound healing is one of the things that it targets and addresses as well. So yeah, I kind of a multi-purpose thing. The other thing I noticed on the website, which maybe you can clarify or give a short overview here, there are a number of different patches that I see LifeWave markets, right? And the one that we used for Kevin was the X39. Can you just, in a 30, 60-second nutshell, kind of describe a few options and why would you choose one over the other?
Sure. There are actually 10 different patches. The X39 is really a flagship product in that it's really catapulted the company. And the company was founded in 2004, And the way it was founded is that David Schmidt, who is the founder and the inventor of the patches, he was commissioned by the US Navy to develop something for the Navy SEALs. The Navy SEALs needed something to keep them awake and alert over long periods, sustained periods of time that was not a drug. And he developed something called Energy Enhancer, which is obviously a patch that increases energy through light therapy. And the Navy SEALs still wear those patches today. And this is,
Wow.
22 years later. It's also been used by NCAA athletes. It was used by Michael Phelps and the men's swim team in the 2004 Olympics in Athens. And it's a really popular patch. So we have Energy Enhancer. A patch I love is called Aeon. Aeon has been shown to reduce inflammation, and it also calms the autonomic nervous system. I love that patch. Glutathione raises the levels of glutathione in our body, which helps us to prevent illnesses and diseases as we grow older. We have Silent Nights, which is for sleeping. Alavitas to make your skin look good. Let's see, Ice Wave for pain is wonderful. When I have pain, I use Ice Wave, and my intake of ibuprofen and Tylenol has greatly diminished over the last 16 months. I don't take those products very often anymore because Ice Wave can bring down your pain in just a few minutes. I know I'm probably forgetting some patches, but
Well, you hit on the important point too, which is, us taking all these, ibuprofen and aspirin and things like that. Those things aren't good for some of your body organs, right? And this is much more natural. I mean, I think, is it fair to say, you mentioned stem cells, so this is like rejuvenating your stem cells, right?
yeah, it's enhancing their activity. If they're dormant, they're not doing anything for you. But if you can get them working again, then it just creates a healthier environment, just creates a healthier you. And David Schmidt, his purpose has been with these patches is to figure out how we can live longer, healthier lives. And that's what the patches are all about. And he says that lifespan is how long we live, and health span is how long we feel young and healthy. And that's really his goal with these patches.
Great. So Stephanie, we talked, I talked a bit about Kevin here. And oh, by the way, the important point to tell the audience here too, Kevin's kidney stone has been removed. He's cleared there, and we took care of this abscess tooth, right? So thankfully, he's got a clean bill of health at the moment. But again, to my point earlier, I really believe these X39 patches helped calm him a bit and relieve some of the pain and anxiety associated with pain, right? For our audience, given, I covered the special needs population here, I know you did tell me at one point you have a couple clients that are special needs that have used this patch as well. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, so I'd like to share first a gentleman with Asperger's, and I actually saw his testimonial on a Zoom call. He's actually not one of my personal customers, but he's one of my colleagues' customers. And he was talking about how he used to feel like his brain was working too fast and he was having difficulty communicating. And he started wearing the patch, and relatively quickly, there was a point in time when he was at some event and he was in a room with a lot of people, and he was actually able to block out the noise around him in his mind and communicate more effectively with people. And he was kind of shocked by this. This wasn't something that he had been able to do in the past. And he felt as though the patch was slowing down his brain in a good way.
Mhm.
Then I learned from my colleague that 6 months into wearing the patch, he now has inflection and intonation when he speaks. He used to speak in more of a kind of monotone way, and now he's more kind of animated with his communication and his language, and his reading and mathematical comprehension has improved.
Wow.
So really really great news of how that's helped him. And then I also saw another testimonial of someone with autism. It was actually a mother talking about her son who had severe autism or has severe autism since childhood all the way up to now when he's 23. And one of the things, he had difficulty sleeping. He would wake up 18 times per night, which in turn affected her as his mother. And so he started wearing the patch and was immediately within 2 days experiencing much deeper sleep. So that was improved. He started having a better time with communicating. He couldn't really put full sentences together, and then he started speaking more clearly, putting full sentences together. And then he started speaking on topics that were relevant to the conversation going around him, which wasn't happening in the past. She showed photos of images of him trying to color. He couldn't color within the lines, and now all of a sudden he's coloring within the lines of, like, color.
A little more focused, it sounds like. Yep.
Yeah, a lot more focused. And now, and then one more thing, when people would come to the house, he would hide, and now he engages with them and has conversations with them. And
Wow.
then finally, he has a kind of an unofficial job taking care of horses, cleaning the stalls, feeding the horses, and he can do this all on his own. And he's just much more kind of like independent now. So this mother was absolutely thrilled with how the patch is helping him.
Oh, I can imagine. No, those are two wonderful testimonials and stories, Stephanie. So thank you for sharing. Just briefly, tell us a little bit more about how you mentioned, you could wear the patch in different locations, but tell us a little bit about frequency, right? This is something you wear every day, but I don't think all day, right?
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So the patch the X39 is a 12-hour patch. You wear it for 12 hours during the day. So you put it on in the morning, have it be part of your morning routine, and take it off 12 hours later. And it's very important to hydrate when you're wearing the patches. This helps them to work and kind of flush out the toxins in your body and so forth. So I think most of the patches are 12-hour patches. You throw it away at the end of the day, you put on a new patch at night. And if you decide to try the patches, you receive a month supply, which is 30 patches in a sleeve, and that's how they're distributed.
Okay, great. And put you on the spot a little bit. I mean, the cost on average, I'm trying to remember what I think I bought 90-day supplies at a time, and they probably averaged about $90 or $100 a month or something. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, a sleeve of patch is if you're getting preferred or wholesale pricing, which is by going through a distributor, someone like me, rather than buying right off the LifeWave website, then it's $99.95 per month for 30 sleeves. So the way we describe it is it's like the cost of a cup of coffee per day. I mean, obviously not a cup of coffee that you make at home, maybe like
Yeah.
a coffee or a fancy Dunkin' Donuts coffee
Yeah.
per day. And then the supporting patches that I mentioned, those are less expensive. Those are $69.95 per month.
Okay. No, that's great. And so look, this has been fantastic. I've enjoyed this conversation, and thank you and the audience for allowing me to share Kevin's experience with this patch. And I'm looking forward to more ways to use this for Kevin on an ongoing basis, and myself too. I haven't stuck my toes in the water yet, but I'm going to try that energy enhancer that I have. I haven't tried it yet. I've got the sleeve here. I'm going to do that, maybe even the X39s. I want to give this a shot myself. But before we wrap up here and end this conversation, you did tell me something pretty interesting recently too that you're doing to promote use of this patch. Down in Florida here, I have a second home in the Villages, Florida, and it's the land of senior citizens and pickleballers and softball players. And I know you live in Florida pretty much full time on the southeast side, right? But you're starting to do something with some of the pickleballers and the softball players to promote use of the patch and gain some benefits out of it. Can you share that with us here?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So in Florida at this time of year, we call it high season. There are a lot of snowbirds here. It's very crowded in Florida at this time of year, and there are lots of sporting events, amateur sporting events, and So I've been working at a national tennis tournaments, more regional tennis tournaments. I worked at a national pickleball league tournament where they were trying to choose people to draft those folks for the national pickleball teams. And tomorrow morning, I'm working at a softball tournament, which is for older folks, 55 and over. And what I do is I offer to patch them with the Aeon anti-inflammatory patch for free. They're all kind of walking around hurting. You know, they've been competing for a few hours and they're sore, or they might have an injury they're nursing. And I put the patch on them, and it brings down their inflammation in a short period of time. So yeah, I've been going to different events, and then I'll be doing some more tennis tournaments, pickleball and golf tournaments coming up as well.
That's fantastic. That's a smart move. I mean, that's a huge audience. So I wish you the best
Thank you. It's a
in
very receptive audience. They're very appreciative to have some relief during these lengthy events.
absolutely. Like we said earlier, it beats popping pills, right? You know, try this and see how it helps you and changes your life. And I think that's great. So Stephanie, I want to thank you. We're going to wrap this conversation up. I want to thank you for your time and sharing this. And I hope our audience enjoyed this conversation as well. I will front end this podcast video with a slide with your contact info and how to reach you. And I'll have that on the back end of this video as well. So I encourage others out there, any interest, reach out directly to Stephanie. We'll have her contact info here. So Stephanie, thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much, Mike. I really enjoyed it. Appreciate it. And thanks to everybody for listening.
Great. All right. Thank you, audience. And we will see you next time. Take care.